Hey everybody, Cap here, Welsh Creative, with another video. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a tutorial on, as promised in other videos, if you watch any of my other videos on my channel. I do urge you to please like and subscribe and hit that bell on the video so we can continue bringing you great content. So today we're going to be designing some labels that go on the outside of your screens on the edge, so that you know what mesh count it is. And I'm going to show you how to kind of customize that so that you can know what the screen mesh count is. It'll be waterproof decal as you're washing out screens. You want to make sure that whatever paper or medium that you're using, make sure it's waterproof. So let's get into it without further ado. Cap, kick off that intro. All right, everybody, welcome back. Want to make sure that you all know that I am on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, of course. You can also reach me by email if you have any questions. If you have any comments about what we're doing today, any ideas where I can make things better, please leave a comment in the description, and I'll be happy to get back to you and respond to those comments. So let's get into it. Let me pull up Illustrator here. All right, so this is a design that I created in Illustrator. You can get Illustrator at adobe.com. I have these 2018 suite Adobe CC. So this is kind of what we're looking at here. Let me pull up my rulers so that you can kind of see the measurements. And what you want to do is you want to kind of figure out the width of your screen, as to that's will determine how big the sticker is. So I have 3 different kinds of screen mesh counts, 160, 110, and 230. The mesh count is how far apart the holes are on the screen, essentially. The lower mesh count dumps a lot of color onto the garment or whatever it is you're printing, and the higher mesh counts allow a less amount of ink onto the garment or whatever it is you're printing. So if you're doing multi-color designs with halftones, a lot of detail, you want to use a 230. If it's a one-color design, you can get away with a 110. And if it's a couple colors, 3 colors, and it's just a vector, no shading, I'm going to be using a 160. So let me bring over my guides here, and you'll get an idea on the size of my designs here. And all I'm doing is moving guides from the left to the right. So all you got to do is, this is the ruler, and what I did is I'm taking and dragging out guides to line the 3 graphics together, show you how you can determine what the width is that you're going to be creating. So I'm going to move all these over to line up with the guides. Just make sure that I grab all that, group it. Control G, Command G on a Mac if you're on a Mac for grouping things together. We're going to make sure we're, oops. All right, so it looks like we're pretty good here. Let's move that one over to match the end there. So as you can see, my guides here is 3 inches. The width of the design isn't going to make a whole lot of difference. It's going to be the width. And when you go to the width here, if I bring my ruler to, let's say we're looking at this one here, I'm just taking the crosshairs from the very corner of the ruler up top and moving it over. So we're looking at a little over 1.5 inches. A little over a 1/2 inch. And that's the measurement we went with. Sorry. Put my guide down to, I got my label grouped with my guide. Bear with me. Okay. So now let's take this, take my guide, bring it back down. I'm going to go ahead and take this again and group it. Sorry about that. Computer's been acting kind of crazy. And usually when you're moving graphics around, it should snap to the grid or the guides. And also when you're dragging things around, it also will snap to, it'll tell you where the middle is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to View, Rulers, View, Guides. Let's clear guides. Let's start over. Sorry, my computer hasn't been restarted in a while. Control G. So let's get these guys lined up. So all three are now lined up with each other. See that purple line that showed up there? That's kind of how you know you're lined up. Okay. All right, so let's try this again. So we're going to take a guide over here and we're going to move it to the end of this. Take another guide from the left, move it over to the end of this decal. And then we're going to take the ruler from up top here. I'm going to drag it all the way down over the very edge of the first decal. And so, as you can see, if I bring a guide down from the very top again, you'll see that I'm a little over 3/4 of an inch is what the width of each, or the height, excuse me, of each decal. Okay. So the label's pretty simple. Let me take this and ungroup it. I'm going to show you the components of the actual design. So if I take just the text away, all I do is I have text with a stroke on it. Then I have my logo. And then I have essentially two rectangles. One has no fill, just a stroke of green, and then I have a solid black fill to create this black background. And so you could, be creative and do whatever you want essentially, but the key here is just getting your height and your width correct. That way, when you print it out on your printer and then cut it with your cutter, or however you decide to do it, I'm going to be using I'm going to print on my Big Bertha HP plotter, and then I'm going to take it into my vinyl cutter, and my cutter will cut these designs out. So what I'm going to end up doing is putting however many screens I have, I'm going to be putting that number of decals laid out so it cuts them in one sheet, which helps save material. So that's pretty basic. That's how I did it. You guys, there's a lot of different ways. You can buy labels from anybody out there. Some people like to just write on the screen with a permanent marker. I just wanted to be kind of professional, make it look professional. So as you see here, I'm just re-putting the elements together. Oops. So you could do whatever you want. My new branding has a black and green, kind of a lime green, neon green theme to it. So that's kind of the colors I went with. Obviously, the sky is the limit. The fonts that I'm using here, you're not seeing them because I've created outlines. And let me give you an idea what that looks like. So if I take and I type something here, let's just put 110. and make it nice and big like that. And I'm gonna make this a white fill. I'm gonna take my stroke. Well, first let's do this. Let's take my eyedropper, and this will let me sample the color. So there's my my number that I did here. You can do italic, whatever you want. So this is your number, and then you can play with the kerning, which, oops, you can move this in and out to change how close they are together. This here is your spacing between the letters. If you go negative, it goes together. If you go farther apart. So I went with them kind of close together with the font that I chose. And then what you want to do before printing, I'm using a different computer to print, so my fonts are on that computer. So I'm just for display for tutorial purposes. I'm just showing you on Myriad Pro font. So then what you want to do is, so you have your font selected, and then you want to go to Type and create outlines. And that creates essentially a vector of that text, make it nice and crisp. So when it's printed, it can be printed on any computer because there's no font attached to it. So that's how I did the text. On the circle, all I did was I took my, well, I guess that's more of an oval. I took my shape tool. So let me get back out of that. And I did my rounded rectangle. And essentially what I did is I just dragged out a circle like that. And I have just a stroke again, which is the neon green. And you go to your stroke tool, which I don't know if I have my stroke. Here we go. And you can get that by just going on your tab here and move over to properties, and then you can increase the size of your stroke. Then what I did is I took this and just make a copy of it by holding down Alt and drag up. And then you can take this and move it around and then change the fill to be whatever color you want. So let's make it black to mimic what I've already done. Then you take your stroke layer and move it over, and then you can take your corner arrow, your resize transform tool, hold down shift to keep it proportionate, and then you can line it up however you want. Oops, I grabbed the wrong one. One problem is the new black oval or black rectangle is on top of the green. So all you do is right click on the black and go to arrange and then send to back. Now we can take our green oval and move it over. And then let's actually take the stroke down just a little bit. I have closed my layers palette. So let's move down the stroke just a little bit. Looks pretty good. I'm going to drag out this just a little on each side. I'm only taking one at a time here. Go. Let's move that up just a little bit. Drag the whole thing down in the middle. That's basically what all I did. And there's, different ways on how to do that, but that's how I do it. Again, color option, text option. Obviously, you'll put, your logo in here. Let's make a copy of that. and then just play with the alignment on where you want it. If you're gonna have a black background, make sure you put a white border on your logo so that you can see it, obviously. And then again, I'll have the same font on this on my PC I use for tutorials, but you get the idea. So I'm going to take the corner here, hold down Shift to make it proportionate, make it size it up, bring it down on top, size it up again, hold down Shift, make it proportionate, and there you have it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stroke down a little bit less on that. Let's do 1.5. There you go. That's pretty much it. That's how that works. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get these laid out on my my PC I use for my cutter and my printer to print things, print jobs from it. It's more of a print server, really. I use it for printing jobs to the printer and to the cutter. So I'll get that set up, and I'll show you how I lay out the stickers and how I print those, and then we'll go and I'll show you how that whole process works. So let's get into it. All right, we're back. So this is my print server where I print from. I use all my products are HPs, and if you go back one of my first couple of videos, there's a whole shop tour on all my equipment that I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about some of the equipment that I use. Just please leave a comment below. So this is the logo that we just looked at the previous segment, and what I've done is I've laid out the number of screens based on the mesh count that I have. So I have 6 160s, and then I have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 230 screens. So I've already went through the process using this software. This software that I'm using is called Razor Cut. I believe they call it Vinyl Master now, or Vinyl Master Pro. There's 3 or 4 different software that you can use. But I use Razor Cut, and I got this software when I got my cutter. I'll leave a link in the description of where I got this, and it's from uscutter.com. I also get my vinyl from them as well. I don't know if you can see back here. This is some samples. There. Anyway, so I've already set up the job to print. You can also, and I'll do a separate video on how to, let me see if I can zoom in. I can't because I'm using my, anyway, I know you can't see it, but I'll have a separate video on how I laid this out and how you use the program. And a lot of one of the biggest programs out there that people use is SureCut's a lot. That's another one. Vinyl Master's another one. And I think Razor Cut became Vinyl Master. So you can change, I know you can't see this, but around each logo you can set if you want a border around the cut or if you want it tight. I selected a white border just so that it pops out from the screen on the edge. So what I'm going to do first, let me turn on my cutter. I use a Titan 3 with arms. What that means is it has a laser so that it can trace what I need to do. So we're going to go over here to, that's not what I want. Contour Cut Wizard. Again, I'll have a tutorial. This piece is just how you get the finished product on the design. So we're gonna output to 63, and again, you probably can't see that, but this is what I'm working with. So if we go to print options, printer is going to be my 6100. properties for the printer. And we're going to do adhesive roll. And we're going to do quality all the way up. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like. Now, I think you can, well, maybe you can't. Let me take you off the tripod. I'll get in closer so you can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so if you look kind of close, these borders right here, my laser is going to use these as guides to know where to cut. So I'm going to move this over. This is these blue lines here. This is essentially where it's going to cut out. So again, I'm going to have that white border. So let's see if I can get a steady hand here. Sorry. All right, so we know that that's good. My Titan 3. It's going to print to my 6100 Big Bertha. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go load some adhesive vinyl into my my plotter, and we'll get this printed. Be right back. Okay, so I've sent the job to Big Bertha here to get the image, the labels printed out. As you can see, it's processing the job now, getting ready to print it. And keep in mind, it's going to print those black borders or bars or whatever you want to call them, and that's how the cutter knows where to actually cut the sticker, by using the laser to calibrate. And I'll show you when this is done printing what that looks like. Right now it's priming the print heads on the carriage. So now we're printing now. So as you can see, it's printing that black border. I can't open up the front door when it's printing, so you'll have to bear with the glare on the cover. It looks pretty good. Alright, so I'll pause the video, and then once I get it out, I'll show you the result. Alright, so I've got the vinyl out of the printer. Pretty good quality. Pretty happy with it. So I'm going to get this loaded into the cutter and do the next step. And you'll be able to see how it calibrates. Now when you're doing this, make sure, if you're using a vinyl cutter, make sure you leave enough room for their bead of paper for the cutter to grab, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Alright, so I'm going to get this moved over there. Be right back. Alright, we're taking another crack at it. Got 2 more green circles to go. I just realigned the laser on this top corner. It was just a hair off. 2 more circles to go to get the full scan. This one's the final one. You can see it scans those black bars. Alright, when it's done scanning, it says ready to cut. I'm going to hit yes. See, it's cutting that out. I'll do a video at some point going through the full process on setting up a cut job with my vinyl cutting software, so you get an idea on the settings that I used and the different options you have. You can actually use the vinyl cutting software to design the entire graphic, but I do all the designing and stuff in either Photoshop and Illustrator, and then import the file into this program to do the cutouts. This is something called contour cutting. What that means is you print an item first, and then you feed it into a machine like this that can do the contour cutting, and it basically cuts the contour of whatever graphic you're using. Spot on. Alright, as soon as it's done cutting all these out, I'll get it out of the cutter and we'll see what we got. Be back in a flash. Alright, so I've got it out of the machine, and if you look at the glare of the light, you can see how spot on that cut is with that white border. Some of you may want to move that cut line all the way to the very edge, but I wanted a white border to make it pop on the frame of the screen, so I left it that way. But you can kind of see that cut out there with the glare of the light. But I'm going to take one out and put it on one of the screens and see how it came out. Alright, so I've got my 110s done, and that's the 160 that I just put on. Came out real nice, pretty happy with it. So that's it. That's a tutorial on how we make labels for our screens here at Walsh Creative. Hopefully you can take this and use it to some level, even if it's just the the design piece where we went through Illustrator and created the design. And you don't necessarily need a contour cutter. You would just hand cut them out with an X-Acto knife or whatever. But I've got the tools to do it, so I'm going to use them. So make sure you like and subscribe to this video and all my content. Make sure you hit that bell so that you can get updated on and notified of our current videos. But that's all I've got. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for checking out the channel and checking out the video. If you have any ideas, comments, concerns on ways that I can improve this process, please let me know. Hit me up in the comments below. Other than that, Cap, take us out. It's been a pleasure. Peace.